How are you all doing tonight? My name is Bigbobbedboi and welcome to a healing priest guide to PreRaid BIS in the Burning Crusade Classic. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover all the slots, then we're going to talk a little bit about gear coming from Classic because someone always asks, it never fails. And I'm going to give you a little bit of my recommendation for a gearing path. So if you're just looking for one part, I've got YouTube chapters on here so you can easily navigate around. Now, PreRaid BIS and TBC Classic is going to be a little different than other BIS lists you probably are familiar with. The main goal of PreRaid BIS is to get you ready for raids, and you'll definitely end up in raids getting tier 4 BIS before you would ever complete a PreRaid BIS list. So for most slots, there isn't going to be just one be-all end-all choice. I'll give you what I'd say are the best options, although I'll mention if there's one that's way better than the others. I'll also try to go in order, so most recommended is the first item, then the second one is the second most recommended, and so on. Something to keep in mind as well, in patch 2.3, meditation was changed to 30% instead of 15%. Any healing priest is going to have this talent. In addition, in 2.4 there were huge changes to how mana regeneration was calculated. This means Spirit is an excellent stat for priest, and MP5 has tanked like Wildstar. So, enough with the bullshit, let's look at some gear. Helms, this is an easy one, White Mend Hood. Now this is a tailoring BOE, not a BOP piece, but you are really going to want to be a tailor as a priest. I will offer alternatives, but I highly recommend you go tailor. No meta socket, but still 3 sockets, 79 healing, 11 MP5. The tailoring set bonus also pushes this up quite a bit. Generally, it's even better than tier 4, unless those tier 4 set bonuses are really doing work for you. This one could take a while to get though. We're talking 10 primal mooncloth, 5 primal might, and a primal nether. This is not a week 1 item. So alternatives and things you can use until you get it would be Hallowed Crown from Harbinger Skyrus and the Arcatraz. A very good piece, meta socket, 57 healing, and even a good chunk of spirit. I would highly recommend aiming for this one, even though the Arcatraz is kind of a pain in the dick as far as instances go. Now I want to throw out an easy one to get that's not quite as good as Hallowed, but pretty close, and that's Watcher's Cowl from Cenarian Expedition Revered. You're going to get that for your heroic key anyway, so you'll definitely be able to get this. Alright, moving on to shoulders. Once again, tailoring. Primal mooncloth shoulders. These are a BOP piece, but damn, they are nice. In fact, like the White Mend Hood, this is generally better than the tier 4 shoulders. Really cool set bonus for primal mooncloth, giving you 5% mana regen while casting. Add that on to meditation and we're looking real nice. 8 primal mooncloth, 8 primal life, and 2 netherweb spider silk for this one, so again, it's going to take some time. Until then, I'd recommend Hallowed shoulders from Grandmaster Vorpil and Shadow Labyrinth. Spirit, 2 sockets, 42 healing, all that shit that we want. And lastly, Pauldrons of Sufferance from Epoch Hunter and normal Old Hills Brad. Definitely not as good as Hallowed, but these aren't too hard to get because you're likely going to do Old Hills Brad at least once while leveling up. Next up, chesticles. Hard to believe, but tailoring once again has the best chest. Primal mooncloth robe, and damn, this thing is nice. Even without the set bonus, it's better than the tier 4 robe. Excellent piece. 121 healing is pretty intense. Downside is 14 primal mooncloth, 12 primal mana, and 2 spooter silks. This is going to take a while. So, Hallowed garments from Murmur and Shadow Labs. Again, Hallowed is pretty good. Priest is pretty lucky because as far as dungeon sets go, Hallowed is one of the better ones. Even though it's less than half the plus healing primal mooncloth has, it's pretty good. If you end up in Heroic Blood Furnace, Robe of Effervescent Light is not bad, dropping from Caladan the Breaker, and of course, it looks nice. More likely, you'll be using Watcher's Tunic, which you'd think would be from Cenarian Circle, like Watcher's Cowl, but actually no. It is from the Forge Camp Annihilated quest in the Grand, very easy to get. Bracers, Bands of the Benevolent from Heroic Sethic Halls, dropping from Talon King Ikiss. Now, even though we're talking Heroic Dungeon, if Epic Flight Form quest is in early, you'll probably run this quite often for the mount, giving you a pretty good chance to use bracers. They are nearly identical to the car bracers of Indwelling. Unfortunately, there aren't any particularly easy to get bracers that are comparable. Bindings of the Time Walker from Keepers of Time Exalted are pretty good, but you probably won't be grinding out that rep right away. So that leaves Light Scribe bands from Heroic Ramparts, dropping from the chest after Vazruden the Herald, and slightly worse than those, Golden Vine wraps from the Lost in Action quest, which is spread out over Slave Pens and Underbog. There's also a tailoring BOE, Bracers of Havoc. They're caster DPS ones, but sometimes you do what you gotta do. Gloves. Alright, gloves aren't too bad. Hallowed hand wraps are probably your best option. They drop from Kargath, Blade Fist, and Shattered Halls normal. As I said, the Hallowed set is generally pretty good. And very close to these are Prismatic Mittens of Mending from Soranus and Botanica. A good option until you can get either of those, Gloves of Penitence. These are from Levicus the Soul Caller. It's a quest in Tarot centered around Auchindoun. It's a chain, starting with the quest I See Dead Draenei from Bruce Willis's adopted kid named Hallowed. Not a terribly long chain here. The last part is killing an elite, and you're gonna need help for that one. Belt. You guessed it. Frank Stallone, Primal Mooncloth Belt. Last piece of the Primal Mooncloth set, and just like the others, it's expensive and time consuming to make, but worth it. It's also tier 4 BIS and better than anything you get out of Kara. Unfortunately, the other options are once again, Ballbusters. Court of Belief from Heroic Menu and Slave Pen Island, and there's Court of Sanctification from Heroic Epoch Hunter and Old Hillsbrad. These two are both good, so I'd grab whichever is easiest for you to get at the time. Only other real option is a tailoring BOE, Life, Blood, Belt, 3 Primal Water and 3 Primal Life, so not incredibly expensive at least. Alright, now it's time to drop the pants. Surprisingly, we don't need to go out of our way for a tailoring BOE here. Alright, kind of, but no. Okay, we might. So, White Men Pants. These are really solid, but they're only going to be BIS if you are getting the set bonus. So if you're a tailor, which you probably should be, then go for these. They're going to be tier 4 BIS as well with that set bonus. 10 Primal Mooncloth, 5 Primal Mites, and a Primal Nether, so yeah, that is some time consuming shit. Until we get those, or if you aren't a tailor, there are some other options. Kamaya's Cerulean City Skirt. This is a BOE world drop and it is very good. That is an absolute assload of plus healing. 118, damn. It's possible this could be quite expensive depending on your server, but if you're not a tailor and this is not like a dick donger price, go for it. Also very good is Pontifex Kilt from Warlord, Calathresh, and Steamvaults, but heroic only. Steamvaults heroic is one of the easiest ones and you should do it to help hunters get Wrathtide Longbow anyway, so it's totally possible you could get these fairly quickly. There are some other blue dungeon ones that are good, like of course, Hallowed Trousers are good. They drop from Talon King, Ikiss, and Sethek Halls. But I would also recommend Pants of the Naru. They are almost as good as the 70 dungeon drops and very easy to get. They're from the Special Delivery to Shatrath quest, which is part of the Arcatraz line. It's a pretty long quest line, but one you are definitely going to do. Boots, because we don't wear sandals here. Boots are actually a pretty interesting slot. Best option is going to be Boots of the Pious. These are from Pathaleon, the Calculator, and Heroic Mechanar. Not one of the harder heroics, and it has a lot of good stuff here, so your chances of being able to run it and get these are pretty high. Curate's boots are also rather nice, but they are from an Alliance-only quest. There's no Horde equivalent. It's called Fell Embers. You grab a thing after killing Grand Warlock Nethercurse and Shattered Halls. Two other decent options out there. Jeweled Boots of Sanctification, they drop from Warbringer Omrog and Shattered Halls, and Light Woven Slippers, they drop from Darkweaver Sith and Sethek Halls. Options are pretty shitty until these dungeon drops though, damn. Alright, we're moving on to the bling now, Necklace. This one is mercifully very easy. Karja's Medallion, it's from the Shutting Down Manaforge Aura quest in Netherstorm. This neck will get replaced in tier 4, but only barely. There's Necklace of Eternal Hope from Badges, but really it's not even better unless that 22 stam is imperative. And there are a few fights where the raid does need some health, so keep that in mind. Now until you get that quest done, there's even another good quest option. Natasha's Guardian Cord from the Houndmaster quest in Blade's Edge. You are definitely going to do that quest line. Almost all the necklaces from that quest are great. Ring. As always, there are a lot of good rings out there that aren't very difficult to get. Now, the best two are probably going to be Ring of Fabled Hope. This drops from the Black Stalker and Heroic Underdog. Not sure if you're going to go there for anything else, but you are unlikely to replace this in tier 4 raids even though it's a blue, so I would put some effort towards getting it. And Spirit, Healing, exactly what we're looking for. And the Badge Ring, Band of Halos, not bad but also not perfect. It's less healing in MP5 instead of Spirit, so this one will be replaced in tier 4 raids for sure. It was also a 2.1 badge item, so it's possible it won't be in at launch, but probably will be. Now, if it isn't in or you don't want to spend the badges, Thrallmar and Honor Hold have a really good ring for us at Revered. It's incredibly close to Band of Halos. Ancestral Band for Thrallmar and Ring of Convalescence for Honor Hold. Very good ring and you're going to get that rep anyway. Now, until you can start getting these, I'll throw 2 quest rings your way. Celestial Jewel Ring from hitting the Motherlode, a group quest in Netherstorm, and Spiritualist's Mark of the Shatar from the Shadowmoon Valley quest Battle of the Crimson Watch. Same one that gives you the Illidari Trophy Tabard, so you'll definitely be doing this quest. Both of those quest rings are quite solid and really not terribly far behind Fabled Hope and Halos. Trinkets. Okay, Trinkets might be the longest section in her. But keep in mind there are a few good trinkets in tier 4, like Eye of Gruul and Ribbon of Sacrifice, so you will sort of replace most of these. Okay, shit. First one, Essence of the Martyr. It's the healing badge trinket. Most of the badge trinkets are very solid and this one is no different. It's simple and just going to give you a lot of throughput. Very useful when you need it. Lower City Prayer Book from Lower City Revered Reputation. Another simple one, some plus healing and a little bit of mana efficiency on use. These two are probably the ones that you'll use standard. And this is where shit kind of goes off the rails, especially for just being pre-raid BIS. Bangle of Endless Blessings. This drops from Warp Splinter in the Botanica, and on use for 130 spirit. That's a lot of spirit. And a proc to give you 15% of your mana regeneration while casting. That's the same as Classic Meditation, and half of TBC Meditation. Really nice. The math I found on this shows that it's about 1 proc per minute. The amount of mana regen is going to depend on your gear, obviously, but expect around 20 to 25 MP5 from this, and that doesn't count for the on use. Throw that up when you enter focus, G heal, and you're going to go into the 5-second rule. Big mana regen. Throw it up when you're going to get an innervate. Massive, planet-sized balls mana regen. Overall, this is an excellent trinket, but you've got to put in the work to get the most out of it. And I do highly recommend getting it. Also, Dire Brew hops are quite nice. If it happens to be Brewfest, I would pick these up when that's available. Alright, still not moving off trinkets yet. Let's talk about the profession trinkets. Alchemist Stone for Alchemists. So 15 Ant, Spirit, and Stam is not great. The main draw here is the 40% potion effect. So how good is this? I can't say. It'll all depend on how hard you're going with the potions. On average, you get back 2400 mana from a super mana potion, times 1.4 is 3360. So an extra 960 on average. That's not bad. 960 mana every 2 minutes. That's 40 MP5 if you're spamming pots. But only if you're spamming pots. If it's a fight where you know you need to spam pots like that, this can be pretty good. The main thing is that, of course, later on you can get Redeemer's Alchemist Stone, and that is some dope shit. Alright, so the last trinket is going to be the other profession trinket, Talisite Owl from Jewel Crafting. It's not amazing. The long cooldown kind of stops it from being amazing, but it does have some uses. I mean, 900 mana over 12 seconds is not terrible. It's really good for like multi-phase fights or ones with mob waves. You know, ones where you can get out of combat for a few seconds to swap the trinket when it's on cooldown. Alright, shit. I lied. One more trinket to go over. Dark Moon card, Blue Dragon. I was going to put this in the classic gear section, but I don't know. This section's already long. May as well do this one here. So this is a classic item, but it did not get nerfed in TBC. 2% chance on cast to get 100% of your mana regen for 15 seconds. Yeah, that's a shitload of mana regen, because remember, mana regeneration calculations were changed in 2.4, so this is really nice. When you've got decent gear, it's more mana than a mana pot. The only real downside to this trinket is it's random, meaning you may get the regen when you don't need it, or you may get it when you really do need it. Either way, it's very good, and I would try to get one of these, and you can even get one now, so watch them beast cards. There are even more trinkets, but I think these are the most important ones. So enough of this trinket shit. Cloak. We've got a few good options here. Life-giving Cloak is probably the best, but it's another BOE world drop. It is good, but doesn't get replaced by anything in tier 4, being slightly better than, but really close to, Pure-Hearted. So if it doesn't cost a metric poon pound, I'd grab it. Until you can get that, I would aim for Avian Cloak of Feathers. It's from Talon King, Ikiss, and Sethek Halls. An easy dungeon that you're going to run a few times anyway. Another one I recommend is Cloak of Scintillating Auras from Zaraketh the Unbound in the Arcatraz. Since you've already got other reasons for going to Arcatraz, good chance you can pick this up easy. Wand, another easy slot. Nice. Soul Wand of the Aldor from Ambassador Helmal and Shadow Labyrinth. It's not particularly sexy, it's just a wand. Would look a bit more better with some thick curves, but until you can get this one, I'd just use Rejuvenating Scepter from the Arkelos the Guardian quest in Netherstorm. There aren't a lot of great wands, but at least our PreRaid BIS one is easy to get, and it is easily replaced in tier 4. Thank you, Hunter. Jesus, it's near the end. We are now on to weapons. Actually, weapons will be replaced fairly quickly in tier 4, so I wouldn't go crazy here. Generally at this stage, one hand and an offhand is a little better, but I will throw up some two-handers as well. Depending on when it drops, and if you're a PvPer, Gladiator's Salvation, the Season 1 heal mace, is fairly good. 375 healing is a lot. There's a pretty nice blacksmithing BOE, Hand of Eternity, but holy shit, is it expensive. 8 primal mites, 4 primal nethers. That is fucked! It's good, but I'd just pass on this for the cost alone. Shockwave Truncheon is almost as good, and it's free. Well, sort of. It's a heroic dungeon drop from Murmur and Shadow Labyrinth on heroic. It also looks dope as shit. Just look at this thing. Look at that cool effect. I must have it. I need it. Ancient Scepter of Sumin is a BOE world drop epic. It's not quite as good as Truncheon, but it's still pretty good. I'd only grab this if it's pretty cheap or you're just flush with paper. While not as good as these others, there are a decent amount of blue BOE dungeon drop ones. I'd go for Hammer of the Penitent from Mechano Lord Capacitus in the Mechanar, or Lightsworn Hammer from Kargath Bladefist in Shattered Halls. You've already got reasons to go to both of those dungeons. Until then, there's a fairly good quest dagger, Ceremonial Chris, from Viridis Must Be Stopped in Shadowmoon Valley. Pretty fun quest too. Okay, on to offhands. Windcaller's Orb is the best one, from Exalted with Cenarian Expedition. Probably going to take a while, but at least they've got some other gear we want, like that cowl from earlier. Tears of Heaven, new band name, I called it. It's from Badges, and it's a rather nice offhand, really close to Windcaller's Orb. Most of the badge offhands are pretty decent. Until then, I'd recommend Swamp Light Lantern from Heroic, Quag Mirren, and Slave Pens. Slave Pens. As far as heroic dungeons go, Heroic Slave Pens has a lot of good gear for a lot of classes, so you shouldn't have too much trouble finding a group for this, and it's the best dungeon drop option. Dahlia the Doomslayer on Arcatraz drops Lamp of Peaceful Repose, which while not as good as Swamplight isn't bad either, and is really easy to get. Unearthed Orb is probably what you'll use until you get the dungeon drops. It's from the Escaping the Tomb quest in Tarokar Forest. Okay, let's check the Fat Shafted Try Holding with both hands options. Couple pretty easy ones really. Serpent Crest Life Staff from Mechaneer, Steam Rigger, and Steam Vaults. Super easy dungeon, and you're definitely going to do it at least a few times. Slightly behind that is Epoch Mender from Temporis and Blackmoor Ass. And also not a bad option, Amir's Judgment from Nexus King Salhadar, a quest out in Netherstorm. A decently long chain that starts with a quest called the Ethereum, not the crypto, from Commander Amir. In general, we will be going for one hand and offhand for a while, but these are decent interim options. If you're watching this in like 2 years and Sunwell Magistress Terrace are out, get Rod of the Blazing Light from Vexellus and Magistress Terrace. It is exceptionally nice. Okay, now let's cover some classic items before people start losing their shit. I just grabbed some Phase 6 BIS items at random here, and they're all still pretty good. Circlet of Faith, compared to White Mend, it obviously loses. but compared to Hallowed Crown, Circlet of Faith is looking fine. Now once you add in our meta gem, Insightful Earthstorm Diamond, they are much closer and Hallowed would win out in a really long fight, but even still, tier 3 is strong. Saf's Eye, this loses to Wind Color's Orb, but really not by a huge amount, and it does beat Swamplight Lantern. Hammer of the Twisting Nether, alright, this is a KT weapon, it's gotta be phenomenal, right? Actually loses pretty hard to Truncheon, way more than you'd expect, shit. And compared to Hammer of the Penitent, actually they're about equal, slightly higher healing on Twisting Nether, but Penitent has some spirit we really want. Alright, the last one is Grasp of the Old God, demolished by Frank Stallone's Primal Mooncloth Belt. Compared to the Dungeon Drop Court of Belief, it's again about equal. And that's the general theme here. Things are balanced pretty well. Phase 6 BIS is very close to PreRaid BIS, but usually slightly behind the absolute best items that you can get for PreRaid BIS. Okay, now these last ones I did not grab at random. Warmth of Forgiveness. This is still good and still useful. It's 500 mana on demand with a 3-minute cooldown. It's similar but different to the JC trinket. Eye of the Dead. This is still really good but weird. So in any case where you'll only cast 5 spells in the duration, it's excellent. But if you're going to cast any more than that, another throughput trinket like Essence of the Martyr will beat it. Rejuvenating Gem. Even though it's from BWL, it's also still pretty useful. It's a very nice balance when you don't need to focus on sustain or throughput. Now let's try to break down an efficient gearing route here. Number 1 is enjoy the leveling and knock out all the quests. You'll have a lot of decent starter pieces for most slots from that point. Work on tailoring. I really recommend tailoring, and you want to get to cranking that Primal Mooncloth out ASAP because of the timer on it. From there, Shadow Lab is probably our best normal dungeon. It has chest, shoulders, and a wand for us. Then it continues to be good on Heroic because we want the mace, so run that once a day when you're up to it. Lower City Rep is also really good for us, giving us the prayer book. From there, I'd focus on Coilfang dungeons, especially Heroic versions. From Rep, we can get the Helmet Revered and BIS offhand at Exalted. Each Coilfang dungeon also has things we want from drops as well. Heroic Slave Pens has a belt and a decent offhand until Exalted. Steam Vault Heroic has our pants, and Heroic Underbog has the ring. From there, you can get your reps and final slots filled out. Unfortunately, at that point, a lot of the priest gear we want is spread around, so you'll be doing almost every dungeon to get these slots filled. And that about covers it. Shit. How was it? Did you enjoy it? Did I miss shit? Have a comment about my voice. Actually, I had to take some medication, so I am drowsy as fuck right now. I'm sure my voice is all messed up. I'm trying really hard here to have the best pre-raid BIS guides on YouTube, so I'd love to have your comments. I was very happy with my Hunter pre-raid BIS guide, and it's doing really well. My Warrior guide I was also happy with, but I left a few things out of my Warrior one that I thought were kind of out of the scope of that guide. But then I got a lot of comments saying I don't know what I'm talking about because I left that out. So be sure to let me know, is there anything in here that's excessive or anything that I should add to my future pre-raid BIS guides? I'd love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button, bell, like button, share button, all that other shit. I appreciate each and every one I get. And we even have memberships now. You can check them out by clicking the join button right by the sub button. It is absolutely the best way to support the channel, and you'll get some really cool emotes. Plus it's way better and cheaper than a Twitch sub. I've got a lot of WoW content already on the channel and have much more coming, including streaming right here on YouTube, so be sure to stick around for that. If there's anything specific WoW Classic or TBC Classic you'd like to see, be sure to let me know in dim comments. I'm thinking I'll do a Shadow Priest pre-raid BIS guide fairly soon after this. Let me know how that sounds. But that is going to be all for this one. I really appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all for the next one.